Venezuela repudia sanciones unilaterales y extraterritoriales del Departamento del Tesoro de Estados Unidos contra magistrados del máximo tribunal. Es inaudito e inadmisible que Estados Unidos imponga sanciones a un poder público soberano e independiente, violando leyes internacionales y venezolanas. El presidente Nicolás Maduro, en su condición de jefe de Estado, ratifica su respaldo a los magistrados víctimas del poder imperial estadounidense. La autoría y dirección de Estados Unidos en la desestabilización de Venezuela, su Estado de Derecho y contra la paz han quedado en evidencia otra vez.
An 18-year-old girl has been killed and 22 other people injured after a speeding car ploughed into pedestrians in New York's Times Square. The suspected driver of the vehicle has been named as 26-year-old Richard Rojas. He's said to have performed a U-turn driving at speed against the flow of traffic before mounting the pavement. Witnesses say he drove 3 blocks, smashing into pedestrians before dramatically hitting bollards. Accused of trying to flee the scene, Rojas was immediately arrested by police. Despite being reminiscent of recent car rammings in London, Stockholm, Berlin and Nice, officials don't believe this incident is terror-related.
We continue to go about our lives as New Yorkers. Now, thank God, based on what we know now, there is no indication that this was an act of terror.
Following tests, police have said they think the suspect may have been high on drugs, notably synthetic marijuana. Rojas, a US Navy veteran and Bronx resident, is reported to have previous convictions for drunk driving.
He started coming up right immediately, and people were yelling, and some moved out of the way right away. Some people kind of got stuck on the car as he was driving up, and I was able to jump away as he was coming close to me.
Images from Times Square showed several casualties strewn across the pavement. Among those hurt, 4 are believed to be critical, while 3 others sustained serious injuries.
A new UNICEF report reveals that the number of refugee and migrant children travelling alone has reached a record high. The number of unaccompanied children has increased by nearly 5 times since 2010 to at least 300,000. The report says 92% of minors who arrived in Italy in 2016 did so without an adult.
Our experience of working on the ground in North Africa, in Central America, in parts of Asia, in parts of Europe like Italy, Greece, Bulgaria, all of these different countries, that there are many children that aren't counted, and therefore the number of 300,000, which is this 5-fold increase, is probably the tip of an iceberg.
The timing of this report is not accidental. With the G7 meeting in Italy next week, UNICEF are calling on governments to address the problem and adopt their 6-point plan, which says the best protection for children is efforts to keep families together.
European Union defence ministers have been meeting in Brussels to debate how to strengthen Europe's defence and security, as well as working better with and within the NATO military alliance. The EU's foreign policy chief says cooperation is key.
Investing together, this is the best way to have an efficient European defence. It's a way of having a rational and efficient joint manner of working on defence. The European Union member states need to overcome the fragmentation in this field and use all the instruments we have in our union.
Improving cooperation with NATO was also discussed, with the head of the alliance saying it is at new high levels.
We are making progress step by step in many different areas to strengthen the practical cooperation between NATO and the European Union. Cooperation between NATO and the European Union will also be an important issue we will highlight when NATO leaders meet exactly in 1 week from now in Brussels.
That's the first alliance meeting attended by President Donald Trump, who's pushing for a bigger role for NATO fighting so-called Islamic State in Syria and Iraq, something resisted by France and Germany. Stoltenberg also said in the face of increasing cyber threats, NATO and the European Union have stepped up their sharing of information on events like the recent ransomware attack. Iranians voting in their presidential election this week are choosing between the current president Hassan Rouhani and hardline cleric Ibrahim Raisi, against a background of tension between Iran and the US, which gives Europe a special role, according to a member of the parliamentary delegation for relations with Iran.
We are not a colony of the United States, so we are doing an independent policy. And I think the European Union is very much committed to continue to improve the situation.
Rouhani has staked all on the agreement on Iran's nuclear program, which has led to the lifting of international sanctions. Political analyst Majid Golpour says, in effect, by focusing on the nuclear issue, Rouhani has pulled back from several other issues, including human rights in Iran. And it must be said that it is really not clear why the European Commission is not pursuing the issue of human rights. But he points out that the real power in Iran lies not with the president, but with the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. As soon as the negotiations between the US and Iran resumed, the Obama administration, which was aware of who has the power in Iran, conducted direct relations with the supreme leader of Iran. If we look at China and Russia, if they have things to do on a regional level, then they directly contact the administration of the supreme leader. The question of this election: can Raisi win with promises of handouts for the poor, though without saying how this will be funded, or can Rouhani prevail for those who want more democracy and social freedoms?
Both Syria and its ally Russia have condemned US-led airstrikes on Syrian government forces near the border with Jordan. Moscow labelled the attack unacceptable and a violation of Syrian sovereignty, while Damascus said it was a blatant attack on forces fighting terrorism. A convoy of soldiers loyal to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad was hit on Thursday as it moved nearer to US-backed rebels and a Western Special Forces unit in Tanf. Washington insists Russia was given advance notice of the latest strikes and claims warning shots were ignored. It says the convoy targeted was made up of Syrian and Iranian-backed militias. However, both Syria and Russia refute this and claim the Syrian military was attacked.
Deludendo momento, bom espaço comercial, ora no Stambeck e Deportes CBA.